Hi there, it's Teacher Tim, and this is a video to get you going for Pioneer Club. We're getting up to Valentine's Day, so I thought I might show you something for Valentine's Day that you can do. And for this, you'll need some paper, maybe a couple of pieces of paper if you have them handy. I've just got some copy paper. Some crayons would be nice to have, pencil, and some scissors. Scissors are optional, but the way I'll show it, you'll use some scissors. All right, and let me go ahead and show you what I've got in mind here. Of course, for Valentine's Day, it's all about the love, right? And love simply means that you start caring about others and treating others the way you want to be treated, showing them that you care about them. And find some time for Valentine's this year to show those around you that you love them. Do something out of the way for them. First thing you're going to want to do for this is take a piece of paper and fold it in half. And we're going to create a heart. To create a heart, simply you need to make sure that you're on the side that's folded. That's the center of the heart. You're going to start near the top, but down a little bit. You're going to curve up and around. And then you're going to kind of straighten up and come back to the folded side towards the bottom. That's going to create half of a heart. Once you have that, if you unfold it, you can see that it's half a heart. The fold's in the middle. You're going to cut that out while it's folded. And you'll have yourself a nice heart shape. Now, if you don't have scissors handy, or if you want to just do this more quickly, you might skip that step. We're going to use this heart as a tracer on another piece of paper. So I'm going to turn this paper the wide way. The first one was turned the wide way too. I'm going to lay it on top, and I'm going to take my pencil and trace around the outside. Now I'm actually going to use a pen so that it shows up better on the camera. But use a pencil, that way you can erase when you need to. And I'm not being super careful, but I'm using this as a tracer to create a heart on another piece of paper. Now, if you want to skip the steps with scissors and just trace a heart on a paper and not try to make it perfect using a tracer, that's fine too. Now, what we're going to be doing on this is drawing some lines to make it look three-dimensional. Now, if you have a ruler handy, maybe I should have mentioned that, you might want to use a ruler to create really straight lines. If not, find something that has a straight edge to it that you can use. And use that. It really will turn into a cooler art project if you have really straight lines. Well, we're going to draw some lines through our heart. First line is going to go straight down the middle. And then we're going to create a line on the left side that comes out a little bit, maybe an inch or so, and it curves out a little bit, and then it comes back some, like so. And we're going to try to mirror that and create that same line on the opposite side so it has symmetry. So it's going to start about an inch out, and it's going to curve out the opposite direction, and then come back. Might be thinking it's starting to look a little bit like a pumpkin. Maybe it does a little bit. I'm going to come back out an inch or so more. I'm going to curve out a little bit more this time, a little bit more curvy. And then come back. And then try to mirror that on the other side. All right, so I've got some curvy lines. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create some more lines that are going across the opposite direction, but these are going to be curvy too, but they're going to be curvy all in the same direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the endpoints of these two lines, first curvy lines that I drew, and I'm going to kind of curve up a little bit and back. And then I'm going to take these next two lines, I'm going to curve up a little bit and back. And then I'm going to see what that space is. I'm going to come up about the same amount. I'm going to curve up and back there. Curve up and back. Now, when you get to the top, you might get to this place in the middle. And so if you do, don't draw your line across the space that's between the edges of the heart. Just jump it up and then continue on with your heart over on the other side. And now it kind of looks like lines maybe on a globe, longitude, latitude lines or something like that, but it kind of looks like it's kind of jumping out at you a little bit. And that's kind of fun. What you can do now is you can create a checkerboard pattern using some colors. So you might want to pick out a color to use, maybe a Valentine's-y color like pink. And then you want to have a second color as well, or maybe you just want to use white. And what you'll do is create a checkerboard. So you're going to color one of these sections a color. And then you're going to skip a section and you're going to color the next section that color. And I'm going to color both sides of this as if it's the same section that just got cut off. Then I'm going to skip a section and then I'm going to color the next section. And what you're going to do is you're going to be creating a checkerboard pattern. So if going down, you're going to have a color, then you're going to have the other color, or just leave it white, and then you're going to have another section colored down underneath, so that you don't have any colored sections of the same color actually next to each other where they're edge to edge. And then here, the section in between, it'll be this section that's colored. So we're skipping and we're doing the opposite. And so you can see we're creating a checkerboard pattern. So that's kind of fun. It's looking pretty cool. Now, we're going to keep this video short. I'm not going to be very careful about this, but you get the idea, I hope. But anyway, if you want to take this even a step further and make this even cooler, you might want to create a background checkerboard. And so the way that works is you're going to have some straight edges going across the back, horizontal and vertical, flat, and then up and down. And then since it's the background, you're going to have these lines on the side of the heart and not through the heart. So it's going to just go where the heart is not. And then where the heart starts, it's going to jump over those sections. And if you create these lines straight, using something to make them straight, it's going to create an interesting effect where it really helps this heart to kind of jump off the page. So we're going to keep things short. I'm going to rush things on a little bit, not being super careful. And hopefully you get that idea. So I've got some horizontal lines, and then I can see my pattern of how far they are spaced. And then I can do the same thing with vertical lines going down that are straight up and down, so no curves, and jumping over the heart part. And maybe this is something you want to give to someone special that you care about. Say, hey, I did an art project for you. I love you. Happy Valentine's Day. And it could be your own personal Valentine that you give to them. We have a tradition, of course, of handing out Valentine's cards to people that you care about on Valentine's Day. So you could turn this into a Valentine's card to hand out. So that's looking pretty cool, right? And if you wanted to even take it a step further, maybe you want to pick out some different colors and create a checkerboard pattern on the back. So you have the same idea where you're coloring in one, skipping one, and then creating a checkerboard pattern on the back as well. And so you can create a really cool effect with that if you do a nice, careful job. Well, I hope that you have a great Valentine's Day. I hope you enjoyed doing some heart art, and I will catch you next time. Hope you have a great time, Pioneer Clubbers. Please stand for our flag salutes.
Right hand over your heart.
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for which it stands, one brotherhood uniting all mankind in service and in love.
Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word. I will make it a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will hide its words in my heart that I might not sin against God.
Sometime after Saul's death, all the tribes of Israel approached David in Hebron and said, "When Saul was our king, you were the one who really ran the country. Even then, God said to you, 'You will shepherd my people Israel, and you'll be the prince.'" In the presence of God, David made a treaty with all the leaders of Israel, and they anointed David as their king. David was 30 years old when he became king, and he ruled for 40 years. David and his men immediately set out for Jerusalem to take on the Jebusites who lived there. When they arrived, the Jebusites mocked David and said, "You should go home. Even the blind and the lame could keep you out. You can't get in here." They had convinced themselves that David couldn't break through. But David went right ahead and captured the fortress of Zion, known ever since as the City of David. David made the fortress city his home and developed it from the outside terraces inward. David grew greater and stronger because God, the Lord of the army of angels, was with him. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David, along with timbers of cedar, carpenters, and masons, to build a house for David. David took this as a sign that God had confirmed him as king of Israel, giving his kingship world prominence for the sake of Israel, his people. David took on more concubines and wives from Jerusalem after he left Hebron, and more sons and daughters were born to him. When the Philistines got word that David had been made king over all Israel, they started searching for him. David heard of their plans and went down to the stronghold. When the Philistines arrived, they deployed their forces in the valley of Rephaim. David prayed to God, asking if he should fight the Philistines and whether the Lord would help him to defeat this enemy. The Lord replied, "Go up, count on me. I'll help you beat them." David then went straight to where the Philistines were and smashed them to pieces. Afterward, David said, "God broke through my enemies like a flood of water." Because of this, David named the location of his great victory Baal Perazim, which means Lord of Breaking Through. As the Philistines fled, they left their idols behind, and David and his soldiers took them away. Later the Philistines came up again and deployed their troops in the Rephaim Valley. David again prayed to God, but this time God said, "Don't attack them head-on. Instead, circle around behind them and ambush them from the grove of sacred trees. When you hear the sound of shuffling in the trees, get ready to move out. It's a signal that I am going ahead of you to strike down the Philistine camp." David did exactly what God told him, and he defeated the Philistines across a large strip of land.
Today we are going to look at the epic conclusion of the story of David. David becomes king. Now David was 30 years old when he became king over all of Israel, and he would rule as king for 30 years. And the journey to David becoming king was a long and twisting journey full of surprises. He had to defeat a giant named Goliath. He had to escape the murderous Saul, various plots and threats against him he had to overcome. But through it all, he trusted God, and God established him as king. Now, as we look at this story, there's some really important things for us to consider. The first is the importance of trusting in God's timing. David was anointed king long before he ever became king, but he trusted that God would accomplish what he promised in God's own perfect time. Second, trusting in God's strength. There are many times throughout the story of David where the deck seemed stacked against him, or everything looked as though it may fall apart, but God was strong on David's behalf, and anything that needed to happen, any obstacle that needed to be overcome, God made sure that it happened. And he does the same for us. And finally, trusting in God's plan. It is such a comforting and encouraging thing to understand that God has a plan for our lives, and that plan is bigger than anything that we may face, and there is absolutely nothing that can undo the plan that God has set out for us, and so we can find strength and confidence in that.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the